Join me on a journey of walking through how to work from home like a pro in this episode. If you're tired of the old cookie cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. If you are someone who works from home or someone who is thinking about working from home or working in a hybrid situation, I want to draw your attention to this episode 51, Work from Home Like a Pro. This was an episode that is not necessarily in my personal branding video marketing wheelhouse, but it's something that I found myself talking a lot about with my customers, with my clients, with my potential clients at the time. And this is something that I think still resonates to this day. We start off by setting the scene about a chaotic work from home picture and how this can ruin or put boundaries into growing your personal brand. And then we go into making one tiny change that makes a big difference to working from home or working hybrid from home, whatever it may be. Either way, when you're working from home, think about energy, not hours. And if you've already listened to this episode, do not worry. I will see you next week for a brand new one. Tried and true methods is what we're going to touch in today. And these things and these tips have mostly kept me sane, and have kept me productive with my business. I have been able to grow my business fairly significantly since working from home and been able to maintain that relatively easily by using these methods as we go on. So first of all, one thing that I will tell you, and I'm sure that you have come across this whenever you've researched any methods regarding how to work from home effectively, is separating your work from home spaces. So what I mean by this is having a physical space that you can separate that is purely for one aspect of your life. So if you have the flexibility and availability to be able to have a separate room, for example, like me, I work in the smallest room in my house, which unfortunately, as you may be able to tell, is the warmest room in the house, which in summer is not helpful, but I digress. So having that physical space, in all honesty, and this is my main trick, something that you can close the door on. So when you're in your space, you close the door, you're in work mode. When you leave this space, you close the door, and when you're at home, you're at home. When it comes to anything that is work related, or either be it like a physical thing or maybe an email or something like that, you're able to physically put it in your office or your workspace and have it be there for when you need to work. And in those opportunities that you, for example, don't have a room or a closet or a shed or something that you could work out in those opportunities, I highly recommend looking at dividers or curtains or something that you could, or maybe even strategically placed furniture, something that you can do to carve out a work zone space within your own space. I definitely was doing that type of work when I was doing that as a temporary measure when I was living by myself in a very, very small apartment. Sorry, not apartment, really, it was just a room, to be perfectly honest. And what I would do is I'd have my desk, and of course, if this is something that you could do, I do not recommend it, but my desk was at least like less than a meter away from where I slept. And what I would do is that I put up these divider partitions. So when I would be working, I would like have this partition and I'd just divider and I'd move it towards my bed. So I had room to move, but then I wasn't looking at my bed because it was a separate space. And the following tips also helped me get into that mindset for work. And then when I came home, I moved that divider out of the way. So I wasn't physically looking at the space. It is separate to me because I'm no longer in work mode. I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to relax. It may be hard, but that's something that will help you be able to differentiate that as your first port of call. And it will also stop you looking at that laundry or that housework and going, oh, I need to do that. No, because you can't see it. Therefore, you should forget about it, hopefully. Replacing your longer commute with a 30-second commute, even if it's not exactly leaving your house. So this one might sound weird, so please do hear me out. Creating a ritual where you mentally shift into work mode by physically taking yourself out of the home and coming back in, but for work. So sit with me here. So my trick when I go to work in the morning is that I literally leave my house out of one door, take a short walk, or walk around a circle, walk around the front yard, whatever I've got the time and energy to do, to be perfectly honest. And then I come through a back door that is closer to my office space. So I have taken that time and that energy to physically, take that commute. And now I am in work mode because I have taken that time to have a commute, but also it can be something as simple as 30 seconds. I've usually used the technique of having 3 breaths, something that takes 3 breaths, so going outside, 1, 2, 3 breaths, and then coming back inside. Again, that commute to be able to help set you into work mode will be a lot better than just going straight from, say, the family room into your small office and then being having to bring all that baggage with you. The goal, and in those events where, for example, you do not have the ability, you don't have a backyard, or you only have one door, for example, you may live in an apartment complex, or you don't have the functionality of being able to leave out your door and come back, try walking around, physically leaving your house if you have the opportunity to, walking around the block, getting some fresh air, and then coming in. But what I used to use, or what I would recommend a couple of clients, even though I'm mentoring and marketing, this kind of comes up, is I had a client of mine who would work who lived in an apartment complex. They would leave the front door, go around the block, come back in. And when they would come back in, they would have left, I think it was a pink ribbon or something on their doorknob. So when they would look down to open their front door, they saw the pink ribbon, and they were already okay, I'm looking at my doorknob, I'm opening the door, okay, I'm seeing the pink ribbon, I'm already priming myself, I'm in work mode. So I take the ribbon in with them, and then they walk into the office, again, into that separate space, because even though they're coming back into their home, they're able to have a ritual that reminds them, hey, I'm going to work, I am in work mode, this is... this pink ribbon simplifies that I am going into work. So again, I know this is all very pop psychology, mind trickery stuff, but it actually just does work. You just have to do it a fair few times to get into the habit of things. And if you are someone who experiences any sort of neurodivergency, it is going to be a hard slog at the beginning because you have such change. And usually with that change, there's going to be a lot that comes with it. Not just, hey, now you're working from home or working from home in a hybrid style. It's usually because maybe you've changed jobs, or maybe you've moved from a different position to another position. There's also going to be a lot of change with it because there's a reason why you're working from home now. So with that change, giving yourself that opportunity to follow these recommendations, hopefully, but also to give yourself a bit of grace of, hey, not every time, I'm not always going to be able to go from being, helping at the home to going into the office. And maybe I won't have a chance to go do a little bit around the block between meetings. Maybe I don't have that opportunity. That's okay. But doing your best to keep to that routine will help you in the long run and help you be more productive, or just get you in the work mode sooner and make you feel better about being in that work mode. Next one is time management, working smarter, not longer. So finding a schedule that works for you. So I'm talking with people who may not be working a regular 9 to 5. For those of us who do, hats off to you, your schedule's already done. But for the rest of us who may have either a small business or you're working in a more hybrid flexible schedule where they more care about your output as opposed to how many hours you're putting in, making sure that you find a schedule that works for you and making sure that you, again, give yourself time to move around like that, especially during peak periods or times of crunch, as we like to call it in the biz, where things get very hectic, usually before a deadline or a project or something like that. I personally find that for me, I work best in the mornings. Despite how my body and brain might feel, I do work best in the mornings. I have a lot more focus to get bigger tasks done between the times of about 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So what I do is I make sure that even though I don't feel like it, I get up, I go for a walk of some kind, I come back in and work pretty solidly from about 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then once I take that 1 p.m., so for me, that works best with my neurodivergency of just being able to just hard line get it done, get the work done. And then once I hit that 1, 2 p.m. stuff, I take a break, look out the window, go for a walk, don't doom scroll. But I take that opportunity to just take a break, go have lunch, and then depending on how I'm feeling, if I'm incredibly tired, go have a sleep. Just because the amount of chronic pain, sleeping is the best thing to do. Or for those opportunities where I just need to get that work done, working when I'm at my most optimal, and then in the afternoon, say, do some more grudge work or more work that doesn't require my full attention, requires me to do it, but doesn't require all of my attention. That is something that is very useful and hopefully will make it more useful for you. And again, this tip is specifically for the people. And say, for example, if you are someone who works better in the afternoon, maybe schedule your meetings for the afternoon. And if that doesn't work for the project or the business or the company that you're working for, trying to find or being able to have that flexibility in your schedule to know when you work best. And for my night owls, does it work in your life and your schedule to be able to, say, sleep during the day and work at night? If you can, awesome. If you can't, what can you do to meet in the middle? Because you know when you work optimally and when you work best. And I'm not talking about like burning the candle at both ends and burning yourself out. I'm talking about every day, what is the best time for you to work? Even if your body may complain, what is the best time for you to work? And what can be replicatable for you day in, day out? Other productivity tips that you can try is the Pomodoro tip method, which I believe is 25 minutes on, 5-minute break. For me, that doesn't exactly work personally, just because every time I'm getting into that 25 minutes, I'm already in flow, I'm already doing the thing, and taking a break just kind of annoys me. It works for some people, that might work for you. And I push myself through the work in the morning and then I save the mindless stuff for the afternoon. Will that work for you? I don't know, but that's the point. You test it out and you try it out. I do recommend giving yourself at least 2 weeks of whatever method you're trying out, because of course, when you first do something and when you first change, it's going to be hard because you're changing for the first time. But then after that 2 weeks, is it working or is it not working? Or you're like, are you dreading your own hell that you put yourself into? If that is the case, then change that hell to suit yourself better. Because you're working from home, I imagine you have some sort of level of autonomy. And in that case, let's make the autonomy work for you. So let's move on to eliminating distractions. So for me personally, having noise cancelling headphones, I have one pair here that I can see and I have another pair in the home. These noise cancelling headphones are a game changer for me, especially when you live in a shared space with others, or like me, you live very close to neighbors who are very loud. So to be able to have those noise cancelling headphones both allow you to focus and allow me to listen to podcasts, listen to meditation music, be able to take myself out of my own head with a tool that, say, can cost as minimal as $50 to $60. I usually recommend investing a little higher, but that is because I use mine all the time. So that's what works for me. For any of us who have visual distractions, so for example, for those of us who are working and living in the same confined space, or for those of us who maybe are in a situation where you're working from, say, the kitchen table, or you don't have that flexibility right now to be able to carve out that space within wherever you happen to be living at the time. I had one client who literally made DIY horse blinders. So what horse blinders are essentially pieces of, I think, leather for actual horses. You may see these at horse racing or old-fashioned like Clydesdale, like horse and cart. Essentially, these blinders cup on the sides of their heads, usually made out of leather, but of course, for our purposes, wearing some glasses and putting they use pieces of cardboard either side that physically stop you from being able to see out of your periphery vision. and stop you from being distracted from whatever you can see around you. Now, this may seem stupid, and they probably looked a little stupid at the same time, but it worked though. It stopped them being so overwhelmed that they couldn't focus. They were able to focus on the screen in front of them. They weren't looking off to various things happening either side of them. Now, of course, they don't use this in public, which, as you can imagine, yeah. But in private, you do what you need to do. And of course, they have two different glasses. They have one with the blinders on, and then one that they take off, and then they can put on again. One that they can put on again for when they're having meetings or anything like that they need to see. But if you are able to tune out what pulls your focus, it gives you that control and that reassurance that you're able to move through the noise, the movement, and any sudden urge to rearrange your pantry, your bookshelf, or the various lotions and potions that are in the bathroom. Because if you can't see it, and if you can't be reminded of its existence as you're in work mode, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to achieve that in the future, and also to keep that habit going. You may not need the blinders forever, but maybe for that month when you're in crunch mode and you're like, hey, I got to work from this time to this time with no distractions, put on the things that eliminate distractions. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.